What if I told you that there was a fighting game that was filled to the brim with tech, but had no actual fighting?
Ain't nothing like a funky beat.
Welcome to Lethal League Blaze, a high-octane, fast action fighter so unique it should have its own genre. Released on October 24th, 2018, as a sequel to the well-received Lethal League. Blaze is an action fighting game that's filled with unique characters, a banging soundtrack, and of course, none of that weak shit. Their quote, not mine. I love this series, and I've been a fan ever since I played the original back in college. The game's intense, fast, and just one of my favorite games to play when friends are over. Not to mention that this style of gameplay is so unique that I can't think of another game even remotely like this. The characters are expressive, the style is reminiscent of games like Jet Set Radio, and it allows for such a high level of player expression. I know, this game looks simple, but sit back and let me explain to you how technical Blaze can get, and why you should play this with your friends. So, despite everything I just said, Lethal League has a really simple premise. Volley the ball back and forth between you and your opponents and outplay them so that they're the ones who get hit by the ball. If you were the last one to hit the ball, then lucky you. You are 100% safe. If not, and the ball is going slow, chances are you could take a hit or two. But if it's going fast...
Damn it!
I gotcha!
There's two main things that always have to be in your mind to get good at this game. First being the ball's speed. You see, almost every hit between you and your opponent increases the ball's speed. Hitting the balls at a downwards angle even doubles it. So naturally you'd want to trip up your opponent and have the ball going as fast as possible. But by doing that, you risk the chance that if your ball gets hit by the other person. The second thing that should always be in your mind is the ball's hit stun. The faster the ball is going, the longer it's going to take to actually get hit. The bar on the boombox helps signifies when the ball will be released. Knowing this sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many newcomers miss this. So beyond the simple premise, which is already solid, inside this small $20 indie game lies a plethora of tools and tricks. For starters, your normal hits change depending on if you charge them, you're in the air, or angling your attacks. Besides hitting the ball normally, you also have throws and bunts. Throws slows the ball's speed immensely and can throw off an opponent if they're getting into a rhythm. And bunts, which are this game's equivalents to parries, almost slow down a ball's speed entirely. But the trade-off is worth it. You can move immediately after a bunt, and if you hit the ball, not only does it carry all its previous speed, but it has 0 hit stun, leading to some of the best plays you can imagine in a fighting game. The basic controls, all being tied to a different button, creates a rock paper scissors format where no move is superior to another, but it keeps your opponent guessing on your next step. It's so simple that if anyone played this game for more than an hour max, they'd get it. And with that, none of what I mentioned is even the tech. So, to start from the basics of the tech, each character plays and of course, feels completely different. Now that might go without saying, but what doesn't go without saying is the level of how they differ from each other. See, each character hits the balls at different angles, allowing for matchups needing to be learned in order for you to predict the ball's movements. Every character has at least one movement option that separates them. Boombox, the heavy-hitting sound machine of destruction, can fly through the stage. Candyman, the crazed lunatic of fun, feels light to control and has floaty jumps. And Latch? Latch is on the walls. Lastly, each character has a super that's completely unique. Hitting the ball 4 times will fill up your meter, and double tapping the hit button will activate it on your next ball hit. For a fighting game concept that's as simple as hitting the ball towards your opponent, they somehow managed to really mix it up with this. Candyman, one of my personal favorites, hits the ball to a set speed and allows the ball to teleport to the other side twice before returning to normal. Grid can teleport himself throughout the stage and release the ball aiming wherever he wants, even in front of someone else. While the crocodile-like character Latch can Yeah, he's a crocodile. And all of that is just a start. Sitting down with this game allows you to get so goofy with it, such as discovering hidden tech like Candyman's wall teleport, and utilizing characters like Doombox to ball hog the ball, and using his 2 supers to bully his opponents. It's fun, and playing with 4 other people highlights this even further. Even people who are good at this game could get stomped because of how chaotic things are, and that's what makes it one of my favorite party games. On top of that, I just have to appreciate the phenomenal game design this game has. Not to sound like a broken record, so I won't even bring up the tech. This game plays amazingly. Look no further than Doombox, who is one of my favorite characters. I never looked up a guide or a video on how to play him, or even this game for that matter. But when I was doing research on this, I saw on wikis and competitive videos that I literally played him exactly how he's meant to be played. And that happened naturally. No tutorials or nothing. Picked him up, noticed his size and his ball hog potential, and used it to shape an overly aggressive playstyle that punished people for getting close. Now, can you play him a different way? Yes, you obviously can. But the fact that as a player my style adapted to the character naturally with no hints or suggestions shows a level of game design that went above and beyond. Nothing but respect for Team Reptile. I even enjoyed that playstyle so much I adapted it into my other characters. Not to mention that with how this game's designed, you can feel the impact and speed of the ball. Screen shakes, screen ripples, all add an element of intensity to the game. Get the ball going fast enough, and the one simple background distorts and gets chaotic to emphasize the craziness of it all. It's a drugless acid trip that's hype as all hell. Oh, and fun fact, anything you can do to a ball, you can also do with a character's body when they get knocked out, leading to some of the most fun my friends and I have had of being toxic with each other. And I didn't even go into all the tech that this game has to offer. There's so much more that you just have to play and understand and discover for yourself. Okay, so obviously this game has a lot of tech, and obviously the game's fun, but you might be wondering, what else does this game have to offer? And say less, I got you. Like any proper game of this day and age, this game has a bunch of features. Besides the characters I mentioned, there's a total of 12 playable characters, 2 of which were released as free DLC. Nothing but respect, Team Reptile. And they're also fun as hell. Past the characters, this game has a story mode which I like. I don't love it, but I definitely don't hate it. It's cool to see how these characters act in the world, especially since we were left with next to nothing in the first game. But the problem is, besides a couple of interactions and introductions here and there, we don't get a whole lot. The story is absurdly simple, and the lore only gets explored so much. You get minor hints to Candyman's backstory and cool moments of seeing what a character is all about. But besides that, not much else. Which, hey, it's fine. Team Reptile is a small company. I'm not expecting an expansive narrative like God of War. If it was going to be this simple, it might have been better off as just some arcade style endings, since that's already expected in fighting games. Which this game does have an arcade mode. It could have been there. The story missions are fun, but man, I just personally find it frustrating when a story takes this simplified route. I won't even complain about how simple the cutscenes are in presentation. I can appreciate it, I just wish for something a bit more. Besides the story and the classic fighting game arcade mode that I've mentioned, you also have a bunch of game modes. This game feels like a Smash clone in all the best ways, with modes like up to a 4-player free-for-all, a 2v2 team mode, lethal volley, and strikers. Lethal volley being a fun play on volleyball in which you serve a volleyball to your opponent's side hoping it hits their floor. And strikers is a take on soccer in which the goal is to hit the enemy's target and block them from hitting yours. They're both a fun take on the game's core mechanics, and besides trying to learn new strategies, can be just another way to have fun with friends and brag. This game also has a banging soundtrack like I mentioned earlier, with the EDM indie flair that helps liven up the menus and matches. Dr. Laser's Thuggin' is my favorite song, and it's such a chill beat to just vibe to. Not to mention the game's theme song
Ain't nothing like a phone give me.
is a certified hype song when things get crazy. And to top it all off, almost every single thing you do in the game nets you an in-game currency. In the beginning, the currency would be used to buy extra game modes and stages. But after that, each character has a page worth of color schemes and skins that can be purchased, as an extra means to style on your opponent. I've always loved this even in the original game. Yeah, colors are a staple in the fighting game scene, but free costumes? And in order to even unlock the ability to purchase them, you have to do specific challenges, encouraging replayability. This was done super well, and I wish something like this existed more in other games. As for features, it pretty much ends right there. To some, it may not seem like a lot, but for a small indie game, it's more than enough, especially when the meat of this game lies in its gameplay. Lethal League Blaze is a solid party game in which you can just have fun with it. Nowadays, games like this come few and far in between, so it's nice to see that game studios are trying and succeeding. So I felt like this just had to be said real quick, and this may be a little off topic, but nothing but respect for Team Reptile. In all seriousness, one of the things that made Lethal League so great was its community and developers. Team Reptile gave the game constant support when it came out, not just with free characters and paid skins, but with patches too. On top of that, they even made a Discord all about Lethal League at that time, helping new players get into the scene, promoting tournaments for this game, and even having a place for people to just vibe and share artwork. I made so much artwork for this game and shared it here, and it was just fun to talk about it with people. They listened to feedback and were always willing to go the extra mile for this game, and as a fan, I appreciated it immensely. Lethal League Blaze has been out for 4 years, and I've never bought so much merch for a non-AAA game. Physical copies, a latch plush, face masks during the pandemic. I love this game so much, and I can't wait for the day we eventually get a sequel. And if you thought that this game was all they had to offer, then you'd sadly be mistaken. They're currently going all in on Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, a rollerblading, graffiti-laying action game all about tricking your way around a sprawling metropolis, clearly going further into that jet set radio nostalgia, and I'm all for it. So that's it. That's all I really have to say about Lethal League Blaze. The fighting game with all the tech, but none of the fighting. Have you ever played Lethal League before? If so, please let me know down in the comments, and enjoy the rest of your day, and take care.
Head to the go-go, baby! You want some? Well, come and get it.